traders. Excuse me. This is Blake Morrow. You are listening to the Morning Edge webinar. I want to welcome you all. I'm going to get our bias chart together, and we're going to start our analysis. We'll start with the euro dollar. Obviously, it's trading a little weaker this morning. We were just pushing into new lows, but nothing to get too terribly excited about. The only thing that I have to point out about the euro dollar is it's just weak. I mean, you would have expected this push higher in gold. You would have expected the push higher in bonds as yields drop, that the euro would be going the other direction. Unfortunately, it's not. Well, if you're bullish the dollar, or bearish the dollar, you're probably worried that it's just not going higher. So the risk is at this point that we push below this support. Now, we have horizontal support, as you guys know, at 109.50. Below that is the 618, which is 109.41, and that is the number that I think we need to be most, aware of at this stage in the game. Now, obviously, we got the spike down here to 109, but my 2 cents are is if we break through 109.40, that is we're probably going to be trading down towards 108, and then you got the ECB tomorrow, which complicates things obviously. But today it's going to be hard for the euro dollar to break below 109.40. I mean, I think so. But especially we have some housing data coming out today. What new home sales and what housing starts and building permits. Later on we got the beige book. I mean, not a lot that's going to influence the euro lower, I don't think. But then again, just the sheer fact that it's weak already, maybe that's catalyst enough to drive the euro lower. Now, I hope, and I'm sure many of you guys do too, I really hope we get that rally in the euro dollar towards 110.50. I think if we can get a rally up here, myself, you, your uncle, maybe your uncle's brother, your uncle's brother's aunt's nephew's grandma, and pet monkey might be on the short side of the euro, or at least trying to get on the short side of the euro on any rally back to 110.50. So I don't think it's I think everybody is trying to do the exact same trade right now. And you know what happens when everybody's trying to do the exact same trade? Well, chances of us hitting it are now becoming more and more rare. Okay. All right. So anyway, that's the euro dollar. Let's go over to the cable. Now the cable's holding up pretty good. We had some UK jobs data come out. Average hourly earnings came out all right. The unemployment rate came out in line. Claimant count changed better than expected. That has kept the pound relatively buoyant. However, we are once again, here, let me get rid of this RSI line. We are once again rejecting the key 618 retracement, which we wrote down yesterday, and we hit not only did we came within 0.4 of a pip yesterday. Was it 0.4 of a pip? Yeah, 0.4 of a pip. 123.24 and 0.6 of a pip. We wrote down 123.25 yesterday. Today we went to 123.29, and then we went to 123.30. So basically, our resistance here at 123.25 is key. And yes, we're still in a bearish trend. Okay, still in a bearish trend. Now, the pound, we have to also, note the fact that the pound is holding up well. It's not unlike the euro, which seems like it's pretty weak at the moment. Pound, it's not doing too bad. Um, does that mean the pound's going to break higher? No, not necessarily, because if the euro breaks down, the pound's probably going to break lower too. It just the pound may still outperform the euro on the downside. It's possible. All right, so that support, the overnight low at 122.56. I'll just write down to even it out 122.50. That's support. Okay, 122.50. Now let's take a look at the dollar Swiss. The Swissy, I'm still long, still sitting in it. A little false breakout yesterday. Yeah. We're not selling off. We're not really rallying. We're just consolidating. If you're short the Swissy, you're probably a little concerned that it's just not selling off. I think that would be a little concerning. It is holding up relatively well. I still believe while we're trading above this 98.35. It's still maintaining that very bullish tone. Also, given the fact that we came out of that, year-long channel, we broke out. Now we're just consolidating our gains. So we still have the same numbers that we wrote down yesterday: 99.10, 99.50, 99.10, 99.50. Support is at 98.40, and it's bullish while we're outside of this channel. And if you haven't seen that analysis for a couple of days, then that's the channel. That's a year-long channel that we were in. Finally broke out. Now we're just consolidating those gains. It's hard to be short the Swissy right now when we're consolidating like this. We're not even pulling back. That's the other thing. We're not even pulling back. Gold popped, dollar Swiss not pulling back. Bonds popped, dollar Swiss not pulling back. By the way, bonds are pulling back right now. So anyway, you got to watch the Swiss franc. It's all it needs is a bullish catalyst at this stage. All it needs is some reason for the dollar to pop. And if it does, we're going to pop right through that resistance. We pop through 99.50 and it's off to the races. It'd be a big break. And I don't know if it's going to happen. I'm long in anticipation of, but it still hasn't broken out yet. Okay. Dollar yen. So Nick asked a question a little earlier. He said, "Hey Blake, dollar yen, are you watching the 103.20 level? That's the 786 of last week's range." 786 of last week's range and horizontal support. I see. Said and horizontal support right here. I wasn't really, and the reason why I wasn't is because we have this triangle pattern that's I think trying to play out. So I think a move down to 102.80, 102.90. Remember, is the 38% retracement. I think that's possible. So I think that's a better place to play on the long side, and frankly, I think that's a place where I might be adding. Also taken into consideration that that gold is stronger, and there's that news story from Kyoto saying that the BOJ is not expected to do any more stimulus in November. That could weigh on on prices here, then you get a little bit of risk aversion. I think we might actually come down here first. So I'm more concerned with this. Here, I'm going to take that away, Nick. I'm more concerned with this being hit. And so if you want to be on the long side, and like I said, I already own the dollar yen, I might add a little bit down here. Okay. That's where I think is a good place to be on the long side if you're not long, and you're just looking for a place to be long. Okay. Now resistance at this point. So you can see that this is the triangle, right? And this is the other trend line here. So now big resistance will be any move back to 104. It'll be a big resistance. It'll get rejected on many different levels. Okay. I still think it's near-term bullish. The dollar yen. Uh, you know what? But I'm going to put it in a range right now. I think we really have to get above 104.60 for it to. I'm going to put it in a range for right now, just because we broke lower out of this triangle. I do believe that if we break 104.60, it is instantly bullish. But because we didn't play out to the upside, I think we have to just keep it in a range right now as we're trying to shift the whole trend from being bearish. We're in a range, then we go to bullish. So we just didn't get that continuation that I thought we'd get the last couple of days. Hold on really quick. Okay. All right, sorry about that. Let's go over to, that was the dollar yen. Let's go over to the Canadian. So the Bank of Canada. Bank of Canada meets today. No one's expecting the BOC to do anything. I am not expecting the BOC to do anything. I was actually long Canadian dollars overnight. I was short the New Zealand Canadian. I already closed out my position. I got out actually 3 pips higher than where we're currently at. I'm just not doing anything with the Canadian dollar. I bought it yesterday. I know some of you guys are probably, some of you got long with me yesterday when we dropped to 130.70. I sold it yesterday afternoon or a couple hours later, 131.10. And now I'm just kind of sitting here. I don't really know what to do. I mean, I still think this horizontal support should offer support, but if the Bank of Canada is a little bit more hawkish, maybe we actually trade down here to 130. I think it's possible. Bigger picture, the dollar Canadian, bigger picture. Okay, let me get rid of this really quick. I don't know what that's there from. Bigger picture, really support doesn't come down here until like 129 and change. This is where I'm more interested to be on the long side in the dollar Canadian, frankly. I don't know if we're going to get down there, but I'm more interested being long down here versus where we're at right now, at least based on the information that I have currently. So for today, since it's the BOC, I think we need to mark up 130. Okay. We do have horizontal support here. So I'm going to write down 130.50 and then 130. Okay. So we got 130, 130.50, right? 130.50 and then 130. Resistance. Spike low, high, spike high. One 140 will be resistance on the way back up. 140, and then 132, which would be a retest of this trend line here. Because you can see that, 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 that. Okay, so 140, 132. If you're looking to be short, so I think the way to play it is, you know, you get long down here if possible. This again, you're just thinking about BOC here at this point. Or if you want to be short, you're short up here. Does that make sense? Okay, so 130, 140, 132. I think that's the way we have to trade that bad boy for right now. Let's do the Kiwi really quick. So the New Zealand dollar, it was making a nice little squeeze in the Asian trade, and if you came in a little bit late, I jumped in our the Wise Trade chat room, and I said, don't fall for this this move. The Chinese data just came out. I said don't fall for this little spike up here. Last night the industrial production numbers were crap numbers. The GDP numbers backward looking anyway. They came in line, but the industrial production numbers suggest that that GDP could probably continue to stay soft in China. So I wouldn't get excited about the Chinese data that came out overnight. So we traded up to basically squeezed right to 72.35. I think that the high was 34, and then we failed. I think 132.30 is major resistance now. I am still short the Kiwi. My cost average is at 72.50. I am underwater. I've been sitting in this damn thing for a few days, and I don't have any problem being on the short side. Frankly, I don't. So resistance today, 72.30. Okay. Support, 71.40 again will be support. And it's still bearish. We're still working a head and shoulder pattern. And we can get rid of this. We're still working a head and shoulder pattern. We just this zone area right here is just basically a retest of the neckline. That's all that's been. Okay. All right. I'm going to put you guys on hold. I'm going to go grab some more coffee because I need coffee. I'll be back in a few moments. Don't go anywhere. All right, traders, this is Blake Morrow. You are listening to the Morning Edge webinar. I'll welcome you all back. All right, let's go over to the Aussie. Okay. All right. Here's the Aussie. Now, as you guys know, the Aussie is up against major resistance. Any which way you slice it. Okay. Okay. Here is your resistance. We're pushing up against resistance once again. Major levels. I'm more concerned right now about the trend line and then obviously this high right here, okay, which is 77.10. Because if we break above 77.10, that may open up the door for a retest of 77.50, and then obviously a very big breakout from there. I will write down 77.10. Although we are at resistance right now, and I'm pointing 77.50, which is major, and we're right there. I mean, the Aussie dollar just needs a little shove. I think anybody who's bullish the Aussie right now, which everybody's trying to play this pattern. Everybody's trying to play this shoulder, head, shoulder. Okay. Everybody's trying to play this to the long side. I'm short. I got short yesterday at 76.85 because I think the dollar, when you look at the dollar index looks like it's breaking higher. So I don't want to. I'd rather sell the Aussie here, be proved wrong that the dollar's ready to turn around versus trying to play the dollar on the short side knowing that the dollar's breaking out. You know what I mean? So, but I know everybody's trying to play this pattern. Everybody. Okay. So now, with that being said, okay, you have to watch this, resistance. And I don't think anybody who's long is going to give up on the Aussie unless we break back below here. It's only a break back below 76.50 where you're going to see anybody who's long the Aussie really kind of say, ah, crap, I was wrong. You know what I mean? So that's going to be, we'll call that 76.45. Okay, I'm going to put an asterisk there because I think while we're above 76.45, anybody who's long is not going to pull out of their trade. Okay? All right, let's go over to the dollar index. So here's the dollar index. We are okay. Let me ask you guys this question. I'm gonna ask you a question really quick. What do you notice? What do you notice? What do you think I'm looking at as far as a key observation with the dollar index? What are some key observations about the dollar index? And I'm going to ask you. There's no right or wrong answer, but what are some key observations here about the dollar index? What do you guys see? AB, you say it's oh, never mind, never mind. Okay, never mind. What are some key characteristics here? Patrick H says it's holding support. Okay, maybe a better way to look at it, it's holding the breakout point. Jason says bull flag. It could be a bull flag. Um, Joe says it's in a small range. Yes, it's in a small range. Uptrend. Uptrend. Yeah, we're trending higher in this channel. AB says the RSI is toppy. Yeah, RSI I would say has worked off or is working off overbought conditions. Correct. Um, but you could have said the RSI was toppy here, right? Same thing. But we continued higher until we hit the top of the range here. Okay. So I wouldn't read too far into the RSI right now. It's just working off overbought conditions. Chris says it's trading within a range. It is bigger range and in an up channel, correct? Toby says higher highs and higher lows breaking above trend line. Definitely higher highs and higher lows. Okay. Jeffrey says shallow pullback. Definitely shallow pullback here. Um, Paul says it's strong, consolidating, possible bull flag. It's very strong. It is consolidating, possible bull flag. You are correct. Okay. One thing that you know I am observing about the dollar is that it is holding up with a very shallow pullback above the breakout point. There's an old saying, what does not go down usually only has one other direction to go, especially after a big move. So when you get a big move, hence big move, when you don't pull back, it's usually going to be a continuation. Now, I've got some dollar long positions going on right now, and I don't want to be too aggressive up here because I think any move higher is going to be met with a lot of selling as we hit 127% extension or the channel high, especially up, at the range high over here. But I would be pretty nervous if I was short the dollar right now. I'd be pretty nervous because it's just not pulling back. There's a lot of people shorting the dollar up here. A lot of non-believers down here. There's even more non-believers up where we're at currently. So you got to watch this dollar. This dollar, could still continue higher. By the way, gold just broke into new highs. Okay. So just keep an eye on the dollar. I think the dollar is still very, very strong, and it's holding up very, very well. All right. Now, we do have to break either below here, which is 97.45, or the risk is that we break above 98.20. So same numbers as yesterday, 97.45, 98.20. We're bullish right now, but we're getting towards the upper end of the range. The other thing about the dollar, here, let's go back over here to the dollar. You notice yesterday, I mean, you have to imagine this candle right here was red at one point. It was pretty red, and then buyers just came right back in. Yeah, the dollar, there are dollar buyers looming in the market. They're around every corner. You think the dollar buying's done, and as soon as you think the dollar buying's done, they swoop back in and start buying dollars again. Okay, so you have to be careful being too bearish the dollar yet. If we get below 97.45, then that opens up a door for a nice retracement. But while we're above here, it's tough. It's a tough trade. Trying to be short the dollar. All right. Now, there's certain currencies that are acting better than others, and one of them would be the peso, which probably will be affected by tonight's debate. Okay. As Donald Trump, hopefully will make I say hopefully, in a sense of, trading-wise, makes a bit of a comeback. And if he does, we might see the peso weaken a little bit. The peso has been, acting pretty much in line with these debates and what people believe is happening with the election. So here, let's delete this for now. RSI is getting kind of divergent down here. I think any move down to 1850 should find some support. Resistance, besides being futile, We're back at 1880, 1880. Be resistance for today. If you think uh, if you think Hillary Clinton is going to win the debate tonight, then the better trade is probably being short the U.S. dollar Mexican peso right here. I have no idea what to think, but I will be watching the debates tonight. So any rally up towards 1880 is probably not a bad place to be on the short side of the U.S. dollar Mexican peso if Hillary Clinton has a good showing tonight. Donald Trump has a good showing tonight. We might actually squeeze up and try to fill up this gap. All right, we are in a range here. Okay, let's go over to the Norwegian krona. Now, the Norwegian krona, surprisingly, we've not sold off, meaning the Norwegian krona has not strengthened with that break higher in crude oil. Private inventory numbers came out overnight showing a surprise draw. Crude spiked up. No bueno for the Norwegian krona. What that means is the Norwegian krona is at risk of a rally. Above 817, we may squeeze. And this, we'll just mark this 812 as support right here. Okay? Scott says, I love when you speak Spanish while talking Norwegian krona. 812, 817. Or range. Swedish krona. I'm long. And I'll tell you, if anybody's short this thing right now, you're probably wondering to yourself, why? I see the risk reward. I see the risk reward. Yeah, well, I can short the US dollar Swedish krona, put my stops right above 888, and then, if it breaks out, it breaks out. You can do that, but I'll tell you, this thing's not backing off. These pullbacks are minimal. They are minor. Okay? 878 is support, 888 is resistance, and this thing is threatening to turn really bullish. 878 support, 888 is resistance, and it's bullish right now because we're pulling out of the bull flag, but it's going to get really bullish above 888. I should put an asterisk here. Okay, and if that happens, and you happen to be short the dollar, and the US dollar Swedish krona breaks out, you better be careful, because that I tend to look at as a leading indicator for the dollar. Okay, there is your bias chart. It is finished. And let me take some questions. Going to the way back.